Greetings and welcome to the Goddess Breath podcast. I'm Dr. Mari and I'm your host. Thank you for listening. Today I want to go right into Inanna's story and the beginning of her story and give you some understanding of how it can be helpful for you to identify with her story. But always first, we're starting with a breathing technique. And this particular breathing technique is part of the goddess breath breathing technique. If you haven't had a chance, you'll see in the show notes that there's a link that you can just sign up with your email to show your interest. You don't need to do any subscription or anything. I'm not asking for any monetary aspect, but you'll get a free handout of this goddess breath technique. Today, we're going to do the first part of it, which is basically the grounding breath. And I just want to explain that the guide, this goddess breath guide that is available to you, if you go into the show notes and click on that link and give your email, you'll get immediately in your email the goddess breath guide. And it's meant to introduce you to a transformative daily practice, and it helps relieve stress, helps improve focus, and helps you reconnect with your inner divine energy. It's simple, but yet it's powerful, and it offers a pathway to self-discovery and balance. Just doing it a few minutes each day. So why is breath work so powerful? Mari, you may ask, may want to know. Well, in ancient cultures, breath is like considered prana, Prana. It's like the life force energy. It's related to, in Chinese medicine, think of Qi, the energy that runs through the body, the meridians. So it's related, the breath is related to the Qi, the energy of the body. And breath is seen as this bridge between the body and the spirit, the soul. So it's all connected. And through connecting with conscious, intentional breath, you can calm your mind and body. It's very important to be connecting with our body if we want to have a connection to our higher self. It's important to have the connection to the body, to have a real true connection to our higher self. The breath also helps release emotional tension. We are emotional beings. We have emotions. Sometimes they overrun us, but the idea is to be more in control and also to let some of that tension out, right? Animals have different ways of doing that. Human beings releasing tension. We could do it in many ways, dancing and all of that, but all of it includes the breath. And it helps with clarity and focus. I think that is something more and more we need to have in our daily life, the ability to stay focused, because we easily get scattered with all of the external stimuli through news, TV, all different media technology, blah, blah. There's all of it is available out there, and it's up to you then to say, you know what, I really need to stay focused and feel like I am not having scattered brain, or my brain isn't continuing to run through a loop that brings me down, but helps me feel more expanded and aware. And then also connecting with your intuitive sense is also important. So this is actually a 3-step breath pattern, but I'm doing the first one right now with you today. It's called the grounding breath. So you're just going to sit comfortably And you can either do cross, cross your legs in like a lotus pose that if you do yoga and that's comfortable for you, or you can just sit with your feet flat on the ground, maybe have some support behind you in a chair so you can sit up comfortably. And then you're going to just, if you can close your eyes and take slow, deep breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. We did the breath technique last episode. That was breathing in the flower, blowing out the candle. It's very similar, only this is just to deepen into the lower part of your body and to have a little visualization because it's the grounding breath. And in this episode, I'm going to introduce you to the root chakra. So root, you can think of roots, okay? And I want you to visualize roots growing from the base of your spine into the earth. And thinking about even if you have a vine, that's you can imagine a vine growing into your feet. So it's kind of connecting you. And as you're taking these deep breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth, and it doesn't have to be pursed lips and all that, you're just bringing that breath deep into the lower abdominal area. This is where the lower torso part of our body is the lower chakra centers. I'll explain more of that soon. Thank you for your patience with all of these new concepts as I unravel them for you. And then thinking about as you are taking these inhales and exhales, as I'm talking, I want you to continue taking these inhales and exhales and to visualize that you're connected to the earth, that you are either your energy from the base of your spine and your feet is gravitationally being pulled into the earth. So that would be a one way of thinking about feeling grounded. You're being pulled energetically into the earth. And then also, if you have like a vine or even grass growing, that can start to feel the energy of the grass, the energy of the earth moving up, or like even um, some light roots. You don't want to feel like it's too much, but that they're just sort of raveling around your feet and to your ankles as a way of feeling grounded. That's one that I've done a lot when I really needed to feel grounded in my life. I would work with that one. I would also work with where I felt that I had an energetic connection from the spine going into the earth. And I would do this walking. So there's all different ways you can utilize the breath, have that sense of feeling grounded, sense of grounded, feeling present and connected to your body. This is just one way, and I would encourage you to do this conscious intentional breath through your nose, exhaling through your mouth regularly, and maybe time yourself for 1 to 2 minutes a day. And then think to yourself, does that help me with feeling more grounded or more like stable, right? Having feeling that you have some stability and that there's like a base, a foundation for you, that you're connected to Mother Earth and being in nature, also doing the breath work can help you really feel grounded in your body as well. So thank you for doing that with me. And I'm moving now right into something that's very exciting for me is the introduction to Inanna's myth. Give me a minute to just recap. Last week, I talked about Inanna's myth being uh, an archetype also for us to mirror or reflect based on her story. You've never heard of her story, I'm gathering. Maybe you have and you're familiar. That'd be great. But if brand new, you wouldn't know all the details in her story. And it's wonderful that we've been able to capture that scholars have been able to translate her story through cuneiform writing. This is ancient writing that was writing with a stick, a reed stick that was on clay tablets. They had clay tablets that they would do their writing in. So we're very fortunate to have these clay tablets and that we had scholars that were able to translate the narrative, particularly of her story. There's other stories that we've been able to learn more with cuneiform writing from thousands of years ago as well. But particularly, we're talking about Inanna's myth. And also the Epic of Gilgamesh, I might add real quick, because I did my dissertation, my doctoral dissertation on the Epic of Gilgamesh. He's the tyrant king, also from the same era as Inanna. And I'm going to leave it in your mind to feel if you are thinking that Inanna actually existed or lived, kind of like Jesus. People say, was he a myth? Did he actually exist? Right? So that I'm going to leave up to you. However, she does show up very much as a human, a feminine archetype, and that she has many points of her story as if she did actually live. Uh, yeah, so that's really just your own personal opinion as we go through the story, and I'll let you have that personal opinion. For me, I've been connected to her energy since I had my first holotropic breathwork session, and I felt her presence. Then I later learned that this was actually an ancient goddess from thousands of years ago. Pretty mind blowing, especially for somebody who grew up in the Midwest. And I have a bachelor's degree in accounting and very, very raised very much in the Western civilization. So it was all kind of mind blowing, like I said, and also very intriguing and captivating. So I just was learning more and more and more and more and more. And now I'm loving the fact that I have this podcast and I'm sharing this with you. So, yeah, thank you for listening. Now, this is the time that I'm talking about with the beginning of her story. I'm reading from my book. And if you are listening, you can't see that I'm showing my book and the first page of the second chapter. Beginning with the tree. Now, this is the beginning because every culture has their beginning story, right? Um, and particularly, Inanna's story is after the raging floodwaters wipe out the area. Every culture, you may know, has a beginning with a flood story, kind of like washing away and beginning anew. It's very interesting how all these ancient cultures have this similar flood story. Makes you wonder about the mind and the psyche and how we're all connected consciously. What I talked about a little bit last week was the collective consciousness. So I'm going to begin her story, and I'm reading from it's a poetic stance. It's kind of like a lyric. In the first days, in distant primeval days, in the first nights, in far off primeval nights, in ancient days when everything vital had been nourished, when everything needed had been provided, when bread had been baked in the homes of the land, when earth had separated from heaven, when heaven had been moved away from earth, and the name of man was fixed. In those days, a lone tree, the Haluku tree, was planted by the banks of the Euphrates River. The south wind arose and pulled at the lone tree's roots. A woman, Inanna, plucked the tree from the river. She brought the tree to her holy garden. She settled the earth around the tree with her foot. She wondered, how long until I have a shining throne? Then a serpent who could not be charmed made his nest in the roots of the tree. The eagle lion bird set his young in the branches, and the dark maid Lilith built her home in the trunk. Inanna wept, yet the creatures would not leave her tree. She called for her brother, asking to help. And Gilgamesh, the valiant hero, stood by Inanna. Gilgamesh lifted his bronze axe and entered Inanna's holy garden. He struck the serpent who could not be charmed. The Anzu bird flew with his young to the mountains, and Lilith ran into the wild, uninhabited forest. Inanna and Gilgamesh exchange gifts. He builds for her, from the trunk of the tree, her throne and bed, and she, in exchange, provides for him. It's in the Sumerian. It's called the Puku and Miku, Pukkku, and it basically is the rod and drum, the sound, the beat, the rod and the drum, and then they in turn hands Gilgamesh the kings to the kingdom. I'll end there. I want to say that I've made that initial beginning part of her story very concise in my book, but if you were to go online and look up her story, it's very long and it's very repetitive. They did a poetic cadence to really emphasize certain points in the story. So uh, I made it concise, but now I'm going to highlight certain points that I want to make aware so you understand a little more of what I'm saying when I'm talking about um, the archetypes and symbols and the even the tree, right? The tree is such a great representation of what is possible for us in our human development. So, starting with the tree, that Inanna brings the tree to her holy garden and cares for the tree and nurtures the tree. This is very important to have as a base for our life. It's kind of, we can liken it to self-care, and that we taking care of ourselves is really important. Now I'm pausing for a minute because I haven't introduced the root chakra to you, so I'm going to go to that in just a few minutes. But I'm going to continue talking here in relation to her story. And then the tree grows and over years and develops. So with our human development and mirroring the tree, we have the roots, right? We have the base, the foundation of our life and our perspective and our culture, our tribe, how we were raised. And then we move up and we move up through the development of connection with other people. And then we can think of the trunk as like we can think of the tree as the three centers of our body. So the roots and the trunk is our lower center energetically. The chest and the heart space is our heart center energetically in our body. And then the head is our head center. So we have the lower trunk center, the heart center, and the head center in our body. And we can see in the story of Inanna that we have Lilith is kind of she's the wild Lilith. She's the one who doesn't want to be civilized. She doesn't want to be constrained. She wants her freedom. It's the primal aspects of our being. We all have primal aspects of our being as human beings. And then we can see with the bird that built the nest in the head center as the crown of our body tree. Okay, as our body tree. And that these all have representations. I'm not going to go into the details of what these are, but I do want to start, and I may say more as I go into other episodes about Lilith and about the Anzu bird being in the head center of the tree. But the root and the serpent are very much related. The serpent coiled itself around the roots of the tree. The root chakra. Well, I need to explain that there are 7 chakras in our body. And there's the root, the sacral, the solar plexus, the heart chakra, the throat chakra, the third eye or the brow chakra, and the crown chakra. I'm going to introduce you to the root chakra. The root chakra has to do with being grounded and stability, safety, foundation, to feel like you belong. It's your tribe. It's the family environment that you were raised in. All of this is related to the energy in our body, in our lowest part of our torso, the very bottom, the pelvic area. And it's kind of like it can be, and I have my hands held up if you're just listening, like holding a container. And it's important to have this solid base, be strong, be a really solid foundation. And the root chakra also is related to form and matter. It's the beginning of materializing. Materialization is not a word, so you can laugh. But that this is in Inanna's story, and this is the beginning of how I was seeing all of this, the correlation, because I was already pretty well steeped in the chakra energy from my various experiences with yoga and also in the holistic psychology and also from the energy medicine that I studied. So that we really want this solid base, and we want to feel connected and grounded to Earth. Because if we don't connect ourselves and feel grounded to Earth, and we're only living in these other centers of our body, we're only living in our head center, or we're not even connected to our heart center, then we can get thrown off balance. And that the root and the lower part of our body is our connection to earth, and that we want to feel connected to our body. So our body is like the tree, rooted and grounded, solid foundation, and that we feel secure, we feel safe, we feel connected. All right, I hope I explained that well enough for you. And in my book, there's a lot more that I go into explaining. But for now, just stating then in returning to Inanna's story, and that Gilgamesh comes and helps Inanna to clear what she felt was taking over her tree. And like I said, I'll say more. It has to do with emotions, and it has to do with perspective and these other characters that showed up in her tree. And that she was grateful because he helped her build her initial throne, something to sit on. But what is more to it than that is that it's materialism, matter, form. That's what's coming out of the tree that Inanna and Gilgamesh together created. Inanna nurturing the tree, caring for the tree, patiently waiting for the tree to grow and develop, and Gilgamesh coming in with his strength and valor and creating her throne. So, and then she exchanges the gifts with him to provide him the rod and the drum, which is the beat, which is kind of the whole base of the universe is rhythm, sound, frequency, beat. So these are really important symbolic inferences in her story. And I just want to say that I need to explain a little bit more about Gilgamesh because if you've never heard of him, he has the Epic of Gilgamesh as his story. And this is one of the most scholarly read stories, most translated stories. It is been translated over many cultures and many years. There's different versions of the Epic of Gilgamesh. But I want to just say that in the Epic of Gilgamesh, and I'm just reading from my book here, the story begins with Gilgamesh getting the keys to the kingdom. So as Inanna's beginning of her story leaves off, Gilgamesh's Epic of Gilgamesh begins there, which is fascinating for me, especially having done a lot of research on these two myths. But he drops them and they fall into an unreachable crack in the earth. Gilgamesh is the great king of his city. He spends his whole life in search of these keys. The legacy of Gilgamesh can be perceived as a symbolic attempt of our own search for some inanimate object outside of ourselves. The keys will continue to remain in Mother Earth until we recognize that she is our connection to immortality, the divine feminine. Now is the time to go inward and recognize the gifts of the Mother Goddess. The heavenly paradise is ours to see if only we have the faith to believe that it is so. This is just my writing from my perspective and my philosophy. Now, I just also want to point out that form and matter are really important in our daily life, in our everyday mundane life, because we need form and matter as human beings. So having form and materialistic things are very important for how we feel, that we feel safe, that we feel protected, that we have our needs met. And that's why having the root chakra and knowing you're connected and connected to the earth or grounded can be super important. If, for example, if somebody is homeless, you can imagine maybe what their perspective is, or maybe how they feel in regard to if they have low self-esteem and are flailing. So I'm just giving that example as an opposite and trying to emphasize more of what I'm saying, how important it is to really feel that our root chakra energy is grounded. So if you had in your upbringing maybe an unsettling childhood, then it's possible that that carries forward for you, of not feeling safe, not feeling that you were able to get your needs met, that you have what you want, and also that you don't belong, like you're not connected to your tribe. I could say a lot, but the important thing is that when we are aware of something like this and we maybe recognize that our root chakra energy is out of balance, then we can rebalance it. We can regenerate the fullness of the energy disk so that it's open, flowing, solid, and allows for the other movement of energy throughout the body. It's open and flowing. It's carrying through, and at the same time, also the root is so important because it's really like that solid foundation, that solid base. Okay, well, I hope that I made sense for you and that you understand. There's a lot more I could cover, and I want to give you a little glimpse of what the next episode will be about. I'm super excited because I'm interviewing a gentleman that is the founder of Roots to Crown. This is a venue space that he has different musicians, different artists, different workshops. I'm going to be giving a workshop called The Breath of Love there and shortly, in just a couple of weeks. And he is very interesting. So I'm interviewing him next episode. I hope you can join for that. And I will be continuing with Inanna's story after I have the episode with Siva from Roots to Crown. Thank you so much